Hello, I'm Ross Sinclair for BizNews.com. Recently, there have been many moves away from traditional banking, including cryptocurrency and other forms of DeFi. Today, I'm speaking to the director of 6.50, Warren Fenter, who's created another alternative to banking. Thanks for taking the time, Warren.
It's a pleasure, Ross. Nice to be here.
So, to get started, what is 6.50?
Ross, 650 is a voucher-based transactional service engine. So, in other words, we use the concept of vouchers stored in a banking-grade transactional account as an alternative store of value and a way for people to transact as opposed to holding a bank account.
So, digital rands, what is that? Is it a voucher that you use? Is there a reserve of fiat currency that you have to hold in order for these rands to exist?
Yeah, so essentially our whole solution is backed on vouchers. So the one voucher we offer is a digital rand voucher, which is equal to one South African rand. These vouchers are obviously digital and then stored in an account. And effectively, we hold a 100% reserve on the back of a bank deposit to make sure that we can meet the redemption value of those vouchers, essentially for the active vouchers that are in circulation. So it's not the same as your cryptocurrency, for example. It's a voucher-based value store, not a crypto-based value store, and not a fiat-based value store.
Okay. Do you have any other vouchers other than rand ones?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if you think about the concept of a voucher, you can actually connect that voucher to any value. So you can have
Hmm.
a rand-based voucher, you can have a crypto-backed voucher, which is something that we're looking at in the future. We do offer a dollar voucher as well, so you can move from a rand voucher to a dollar-based voucher. And effectively, the dollar-based voucher would be backed by a dollar value store, and it would mimic the sort of rand-dollar exchange rate.
Okay. How do you deal with those exchange rates with prices fluctuating so much?
Well, we have a direct integration through APIs to make sure that, when someone moves from a rand-based voucher to a dollar-based voucher, that we're picking up the exact exchange rate at the time. And effectively, we mimic that. So we'll give the user the opportunity to accept a quote. If you want to move from rands to dollars, we'll say, this is the exchange rate that you can apply for at the time. Are you happy? If you confirm, we confirm that, and then we hold the equivalent dollar value in reserve to make sure we can meet that voucher.
So do you convert the actual rand to dollars, or will you still sit with rand and take a gamble?
No, we actually do the conversion, yeah. So from a treasury function, we hold the exact replica of the voucher value. So whether it be a dollar or a rand or any other value that we choose to back a voucher by.
Hmm. How do these vouchers work? How does it differ from traditional banking with a credit or debit card?
So the voucher is quite different because traditional banking is deposit holding institutions, so they'll be taking your deposit, holding the money on your behalf, and then effectively allowing you to transact with your own funds. Because we sell a voucher, it's very different. We give you a product that you can store in the transactions account with us. So it's like holding a bank account, except it's a voucher-based value. We allow you to transact with that voucher, but essentially, when you use that voucher, you're redeeming it for a product or service. So it's the same as a gift card, for example. If you bought a gift card and you allow someone to exchange their gift card for a product in store, we do exactly the same thing on our side. So essentially, it's really a new way for you to store value and transact. Obviously, the trick is to make sure that our vouchers are accepted at as many places as possible, because the last thing you want to do is go from cash or from crypto into a voucher-based store of value that you can only spend at very limited places. So I think that's been traditionally the problem with a crypto value store, for example, is how do you use it? And our challenge was making sure that our vouchers could be accepted at as many places as possible.
Speaking more to that, how did you manage to get it so widely accepted?
We've got a very much a strong partnership model. So we didn't want to go and spend a lot of our time driving merchant acquisition. So for us, it was more around strategic partnerships. So the first partnership we put in place was with the Y Group. They've got quite an extensive footprint around Y codes that are accepted at the likes of Shoprite Checkers Group, the Famous Brands Group, the Cape Union Mart Group, as well as Nando's, Mr. Delivery, etc. So for us to do a deal via the Wirecode integration meant we didn't have to do merchant integration. We just had to do integration with one platform and then effectively make those merchants available to our user base. So we got about 20,000 merchants through that integration setup. And then we did a strategic integration with Zappa. With Zappa's got a footprint of approximately 60,000 odd merchants. And essentially you can scan any Zappa QR code on our platform without the need to have a bank card. So we're the only application other than EFT where you can actually transact through any Zapper merchant purely with a voucher.
Now, let's say I have 150 Rand. How will I get that into my digital vouchers? What's the process?
So the starting point for us was cash. So we've done an integration into thousands of retail till points via the pay at solution. So essentially, you can go to Pick and Pay, Pep stores, Ackermans, ShopRite, you name it, Spars, and you can convert your cash at till point as if you were making a bill payment for your rates account. We generate a bill payment number in the application. You just read that number to the cashier, you hand over your 100 Rand, and instantly your 650 account is populated with 100 digital rands. And then the other way to go on to come into the platform is obviously via cryptocurrency. So in August last year, we launched 6 different cryptocurrencies. We've got 9 now that you can convert from Bitcoin into digital rands. And then you can hold the digital rands through the crypto route as well, which ranges somewhere between 1 minute and 7 or 8 minutes on average from that conversion. And then we have a corporate solution where you can populate digital rands into any mobile number in bulk. So effectively, if you need to distribute funds for the purposes of a survey that somebody completed, I think I came back from my Money for Jam days when I built that platform, the ability to pay someone in small bits. We've built that platform for the distribution of commissions, rewards, incentives, bonuses, whatever the case may be. And that's another way of getting, value into these 650 accounts. And then, of course, we accept EFT, and we currently integrate into accept bank card payments.
How did you discover the demand for this product? And you spoke a bit about your career before, but what in your career led you to create this?
Well, I think when we built the Money for Jam solution, we were populating the earnings from jobbers out in the marketplace doing these micro jobs, and the only functionality we had in our wallet was the ability for them to go cash out at one of the retail stores, and it was kind of a lost opportunity. So when we exited that business, interestingly enough, my co-founder went into the same industry, and he went the regulated route on the basis of building a sort of new way for people to transact in that banking sector. I spent quite a lot of time in Zimbabwe and Malawi, having a look at the mobile banking landscape and the challenges that the emerging market customers were facing in those territories, and very quickly came to the realization that trying to take banking to the unbanked was not the answer. The regulatory framework is too cumbersome, the costs are too high for us to really reach the masses. So I wanted to find a new way for people to hold a store of value and transact without the need for a bank account. And that's where the concept of vouchers linked to a transactional account sort of started.
Is there anyone else doing this, or are you pioneering a field?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much pioneering the field. I mean, there are a lot of voucher-based transactional solutions. The majority of them are paper-based, voucher-based solutions. Even if they are digital, they still a store of value linked to a number, and then you have to redeem that number. We're the only platform that links a voucher into a full transactional engine. And it came from the fact that I had access to the technology. I mean, we were credited as a mobile banking solution, but then realized we didn't want to use it for that purpose. So yes, we are breaking ground on this basis, especially on the crypto side. I think we're very unique in terms of a bridge between crypto and fiat. I often get merchants coming to me and saying, Warren, how do we accept Bitcoin? And I say, well, do you really want to accept Bitcoin, or do you want to enjoy the store of value that's sitting in those wallets? And the answer is always, no, I just want to access the store of value. So sitting as a bridge between crypto and merchant redemption is a very unique way of deploying the solution from our perspective. There are 1 or 2 players that are building it in a transactional environment, but they closed loop systems and they don't have the merchant footprint that we have.
Now, it's a new financial innovation, and new financial innovations always have some kind of fraud. Have you experienced any of that yet, or is it secure enough?
Yeah, we've got banking grade sort of technology on access. So we use the same access that you would use for a bank account to access your 650 account. I think where fraud comes in is predominantly when people are using bank cards and kind of stealing people's credentials, and then quickly using someone else's bank card to transact on a platform where they can get digital value instantly. We don't have bank cards active. We did have it active for a while. We did experience, some users coming in and actually utilizing other people's bank cards. I mean, not that that's our sort of responsibility to monitor, but most certainly it wasn't a comfortable situation. So we stopped the bank card side. As far as crypto is concerned and cash, we always say we're legitimizing the spend. We never really know the source, but most certainly we legitimize the spend because we can tell you which merchants it's going to, but we can't really tell you where it's come from.
Do you work with third parties for cryptocurrency exchange, or is it all in-house?
Yeah, so we've integrated with the offshore exchange for the purposes of crypto, specifically offshore, because we are driving some offshore initiatives to bring crypto users from outside of South Africa to come on holiday, on their crypto in South Africa, for example, and that requires us to have the ability to redeem offshore and essentially, have the dollars offshore that we can utilize for bringing back to South Africa should they redeem it at a South African merchant. So yes, the crypto side is very much a third-party integration.
And how has it been linked with stablecoins, for instance, like dollar stablecoins?
Yeah, so we offer Bitcoin, we offer Ethereum, we offer Litecoin, we offer USDC, we offer USDT both on Tron and essentially the alternative networks. So we kind of make as many cryptocurrencies available, whether it's a stable coin or not, and we get guided by our crypto partners on what volumes have been traded on their platform and which is the most popular to actually integrate with. If there's a new crypto that's sort of finding favor or has very low gas fees, then obviously we try and favor that and bring it onto our platform as well.
So South African regulation is looking to label cryptocurrencies as foreign exchange. Will that change your business model at all?
Yeah, I think, obviously we watch that quite carefully, but it will be guided by, the restrictions that are imposed locally by the guys that are holding local exchange accounts. What we're experiencing is a lot of our crypto users are not necessarily using the local exchanges to transact with us. So I'm not too sure whether the local regulatory framework is going to have that much of an impact on our user base because, we see the transfers coming from wallets directly and from offshore alternatives to the South Africans.
And besides unbankables, what other uses could people have? What other consumers could use this?
So we've got a very strong initiative in the waste picker community, for example. If you look at the guys that are pushing the trolleys down the road, they're doing an amazing job with collecting boxes and bottles and plastic. Traditionally, they unbanked by and large. So we have a USSD solution, which allows these individuals to now, for the very first time, receive a digital payment in return for collecting waste off the streets and cleaning up our environment. And essentially, we're driving a transactional engine there on USSD, which starts giving a transaction history and record for these individuals so we can start moving them up the chain in the financial inclusion agenda of ours. So from that perspective, we find a solution for car guards, for petrol attendants, for domestic employers who need to pay their domestics and are tired of paying, cash on a Friday, only to find out that, they got hit over the head in the taxi on the Friday night, and then Saturday there's no more money left, etc. So the move from people like myself buying digital rands and actually peer-to-peer sending it to my domestic workers so that they can have a secure way to hold their value and transact is an important part of that agenda. And then obviously the crypto side is an important part for us in terms of driving the 4.2 million crypto wallets in South Africa to actually have a use case. 93% of the crypto users that have been surveyed on international surveys have indicated they'd love to spend their crypto and not just hold it as an asset, or if you want to call it an asset in our days. But most certainly there is a need for people to spend. So the use cases are financial inclusion agenda, as well as on the upper end as well from a crypto. I mean, our highest crypto transaction that we've had so far has been the purchase of a car. So we had a 1.2 million rand purchase on crypto, and we have people paying for parking at 8 rand. So it's a very varied amount of spend on the crypto side. And then, of course, from a corporate perspective, the ability to distribute to any mobile number is a very strong play of ours.
Crime is obviously a major issue in South Africa, and you always have to take it into account. Have you taken any measures to prevent people's vouchers from being stolen or anything of that sort?
Yeah, I mean, the risk that you face is if, as a user, if you obviously if you're going to share your password, or your access PIN into the system, then you're just as vulnerable as if you were sharing your bank account details. So from that perspective, we can't really do much. But most certainly, when it comes to implementing the right type of password security or the right type of authentication to make sure that you can access the solution, we implement as much as we can to try and prevent that. There are of course incidences where someone would generate a Y code to generate to go shop at Shoprite, for example, and if they share that Y code, I mean that Y code is as good as sharing cash. So you've just got to be careful. So part of the process is educating our base to make sure that if they are distributing their account information, that they're doing it in a sensible and secure fashion.
Now, you don't charge fees, so how does 6.50 make money?
Yeah, so part of driving this alternative and reaching the masses was not to incur any account fees or transaction fees. So we position ourselves really as the alternative to the bank card rails when it comes to merchant settlement. So anytime one of our users redeems a voucher at one of our merchants, we have a settlement fee arrangement with the merchant. They're used to paying Visa and Mastercard and all these fees, and we just go in with a slightly better value proposition for them, and we offer them a new way or a new segment of the market to attract digitally both your cash and crypto payments. So they pay us a settlement fee. Yeah. So if you don't use our platform to transact, then we don't actually make any revenue.
And have you received any pushback from traditional banking systems, the South African Reserve, anything like that?
No, in fact, we embraced, before we started with digital rands, my agenda was to actually launch the digital dollar as a cross-border remittance solution and a way for emerging market customers to hold, a value store that wasn't, deflating against the dollar every year. That's why 6.50 was the name. 6 Rand 50 was the Rand dollar exchange rate in January 2011. So it reminds us on, the importance of holding a proper value store. And we embraced, discussions with one of the local banks, who in turn embraced, discussions with the Reserve Bank around our voucher solution, and we got approval all up the line. So most certainly, we didn't have any challenges. The biggest challenge we had was the Reserve Bank trying to understand, an offshore voucher. But because of that, and because of COVID coming about, we decided to pivot the business and go into digital rands, which didn't require a cross-border remittance approval. And on that basis, we've had no kickback.
And your market penetration, how's that looking? Have you
Yeah, it's
established
looking
a
good.
good?
We kind of launched the majority of our benefits in August of last year, and we've processed just over 18.5 million rands worth of digital rand transactions on the platform. We're sitting with about 14,700 account holders, and of that 18 and a half, probably around about, I think it's about 4.8 million has gone through the crypto sort of environment. Which equates to about 44,000 transactions, which is it's picking up steam very nicely, and we're getting a lot of positive results. I think a lot of people were skeptical initially. Can I use this digital rand, and what happens if I can't use it? What happens to my money? And as people have used the platform, we've seen that confidence grow to a point where they're starting to put more and more value into their accounts, and we're holding more and more reserve on their behalf. I mean, we're sitting with about 1.7 million rand in reserves at the moment, which is just backing up the active voucher value. Now, initially that didn't happen; the money would come in and go straight out. But now they're starting to trust us and keep it there a bit longer, which I think is a positive sign.
Oh, I see. What is the future goal for 6.50? Is it global expansion? You just want to take over South Africa?
No, we're most 650 itself is a transactional sort of platform as a service offering. So we most certainly are already engaging with multiple territories on the ability to license our technology out for the purposes of generating different voucher types. If you look at the opportunity, for example, in the sort of donor fund space, where, for example, organizations are trying to distribute value to people that need help in certain areas. Creating a voucher that can only be redeemed for certain types of products, whether it's a healthcare voucher, whether it's a food relief voucher, for example. It all has application from a technology perspective. 6.50 itself in South Africa was launched just to showcase what's possible in terms of our transaction engine. But most certainly, our our bigger objective is a licensing play around licensing our technology for the purposes of multiple organizations deploying their own voucher types, utilizing the same concepts as we've got.
Well, fascinating to see where the future of finance goes. Thank you so much for taking the time, Warren Fenter.
It's an absolute pleasure, Ross. Nice to talk to you.